Hello there. I'm super excited to tell you about the Allegra GeoConnect campaign. The GeoConnect is a geofencing strategy, and normally when you hear geofencing or geotargeting, you think this, you drop a pin and you do a radius around that point. But you can see, like, if we're trying to target those two white buildings there, we're missing part of the one building and we're getting, people in these other buildings. So it's not always as effective. And, this isn't the sexy stuff, but we can really micro target exactly who we're trying to hit. So, if we want this city block instead of doing a radius, which is going to get other blocks and houses and buildings and things in there, we can target the blue guys with your premium offer. Like those are the guys that really fit your profile. And the red guys are kind of fit your profile, so they're going to get a different set of ads. But we can target only those specific areas. Where this comes into play really well is if you're targeting people in a strip mall, for instance. So we can target, if you're that green area is a shoe store, and we want to target only the people going into that shoe store. So there's a Winn-Dixie next door, which is a big grocery store. We don't want to target the people there, and there's Chinese restaurants and chiropractors to the other side. We only want to target the people going into that shoe store. So, we target the store itself, the strip mall area, and then the area in front of it. We don't target, all the other stuff that we don't need. And everyone always asks, well, where do these ads show up? So these ads are called in-app ads. So they roll through your feed as you're browsing apps that you already have installed on your phone. And as long as a person has location settings on, we're capturing their data and serving them ads. So anybody who uses Maps, for instance, has their location services on. Most people do. So if you look at the one on the left, you'll see that it's an animation. So escape to adventure, escape to the coast, escape to relaxation. So you can see that it scrolls through a couple of different marketing messages. We typically try to get an animation going with 4 to 5 slides that roll through it. I'll show you some of those later. So again, where do the ads show up? So these are some of the apps the ads show up in. So it's all the news apps, CNN, whether you're whichever side of the political aisle you're on, Fox News, MSNBC, it shows up there. Lifestyle apps, the horoscopes, weather apps. A lot of people have these automatically installed on their phone, so when the lock screen shows, it shows you the weather for the day. So the Weather Channel app is a big one. WeatherBug, AccuWeather. Health and fitness, the big one has always been MyFitnessPal. That's in there. Sports apps, so as you're checking your scores of whatever sport you're interested in, showing up there. Travel apps, trying to find Wi-Fi, Gas Buddy, best prices, stuff like that. Games, Solitaire, Scrabble, Words with Friends, that one's huge. But then music, this is the biggest one in my opinion. Pandora, iHeart, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. Typically at this point, people ask, well, can I pick and choose which ones they show up in? And the answer is no. And the reason for that is because you want your ads to show up no matter which apps those people have on their phone. So they're not going to have all of these apps, but they will have some. And you want, like I said before, with the news app. So if you're dealing with someone politically, you don't care which side of the aisle they're on if you're selling them shoes. So you don't want to pick and choose which apps you want your ads to show up in. We want as many apps as we can so that it shows up everywhere. And this is just a sampling of them. There are obviously more. In some cases, we do have to go outside your website to build the landing page. Normally, we just land on a contact form. Best practice is you create on your website a separate landing page to capture the traffic. So everything that goes to that landing page on your website is from us. But sometimes we'll need to do a mobile landing page on our own. So this is the case where, like, an insurance company that we work for doesn't allow you access into their website. They're not allowing us tracking, analytics, that kind of stuff. So we had to create a separate landing page outside of their system on our servers that basically just has, a big ad front and center. Click to call, click for a contact form, or click for a map. That's it. Super simple. And then it can drive them back to your website. We can track those secondary actions if someone clicks on it and report that back to you as well. Behavioral audiences. So this one's kind of cool. We already have a list of thousands of already established behavioral audience propensities. So if you think of Dollar General shoppers, you get one idea in your mind. If you think of whole food shoppers, you get a completely different idea in your mind. So like if you're trying to target the whole food shoppers for your luxury item, we don't have to wait for them to go into a Whole Foods again because we know that they're Whole Food shoppers. They go there every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it is, or they've signed up for their mailing list, however that is tracked. We already know those people. So if you want Whole Food shoppers and you want only people who are Whole Food shoppers who live within 5 miles of your office or store or whatever, we can already have that data, so we can automatically start tracking them ads without having to wait for them to walk into a Whole Foods. So some examples of this, like if you're selling to auto stores, we already know people who shop at AutoZone, people who shop Honda. So, we've got all the different car dealerships. So if you're looking just for BMWs or Teslas or things like that, we already have all that data. We have that. You don't have to wait for them to show up at those locations, which is super cool. And there's, like I said, thousands of these. So here are some additional ways. So, this is boring zip code targeting. If you want to serve everybody in a certain zip code, we can do it. Neighborhoods, we can go, down to the building level like that. If you want to serve different ads to the reds versus the oranges versus the greens, yellows, we can serve different ads based on all of that type of stuff. This one looks like just a single home, which it is. But basically, if you think about this, if you purchase a mailing list of 1,000 names and, you're in Chicago and there's millions of people in Chicago, but you're only mailing to 1,000 of those people, we can also, in addition to doing the mail, which we do offer, but whole different story. In addition to doing mail, once we get that mailing list, we can then serve digital ads to all those same people. So of the 2 million people that are in that area, we're only serving 1,000, so we'll serve one by one to each of those 1,000 households. And all of this is completely anonymous. I should have said that earlier. So I can't tell you that Bob Smith lives at this address, but I can tell you that we served an ad to 123 Main Street, and we can get down to whether we're serving to male versus female, ages, incomes, things like that. We can go by county. This is good for people running for office, things like that. Speaking of which, we can do congressional districts. Those are already built into the system. So if you're running in District 527 in Montana, whatever, I have no idea what the districts are. But anyway, we can target by congressional districts. We can target open houses. So people who are shopping for new homes. They may not even buy that home, but we know that they went into the open house for that home. So, if you're looking to, if you're a remodeler or a closet guy, we're working with a closet guy right now. So you can serve ads to people shopping for new homes in real time, then it'll follow them around for 30 days or so afterwards. One of the cool things about this too is we can also do a look back of 30, 60, 90, 120 days. So we can see people who have gone to open houses in the past couple of months as well. Event targeting, this one's really cool. So, if you want to target a sports game or a concert or something like that, and then we can refine that down once we get the data. If we are serving to a sports game, but you only want to serve to men over 50, we can filter it down to that level. Top left, we've got business event. So, if you're exhibiting at a home show and you want to serve ads to all the attendees who live within a radius of your office, we can do that. Or we can serve ads to a trade show that you're not exhibiting at. So if there's one you're like, oh man, I should have went to that show, even if it's in the past, for up to about 90 days again, we can get that information and serve ads to people who attended a past event as well. Here's some additional stuff. Weather targeting is the cool one, the one I wanted to highlight here. So, if you're an HVAC company, you may want to send a message out every time the first snowfall is predicted. Hey, snow is coming. Have your HVAC checked, or the first day where it's going to be over 80. Hey, is your HVAC ready for the hot days of summer? We can base it on weather triggers. We can do stuff like rain. We're working with a restoration company where they want to serve. There's a town near us that floods, Des Plaines, Illinois, and it floods frequently. So, they want to do a weather trigger where every time 4 inches of rain is either predicted or actually happens, they start serving ads. Hey, we got a lot of rain this weekend. We can help if you got some flooding going on. So really cool stuff with that. This just talks about the real time versus in the past. We can target past events and things like that. This is kind of the measurability of it. We provide you reports that show the click-through rates, the impressions, number of clicks, the views, and then more importantly, I'll show you in a little bit, we can measure foot traffic, stuff like that. So here are some sample strategies. So this is an insurance company. So he had 5 strategies running at the same time. So the first one is he wanted to target buildings and contractors. They offer workers' comp insurance for the trades, which apparently is kind of hard to get. So he targeted Home Depot's, Lowe's, Menards. He wanted the new home buyers that I already talked about, people attending open houses in their geography. I'll touch more on that in a second. Competitors, this one's really cool. So he gave us a list of other competitors in his area, and we're serving ads to drive that traffic back to his office. New car buyer. So, he is in Streamwood, Illinois, and he only wants to serve ads to people who live in the 2 towns around him, Streamwood, Bartlett, Hanover. Now, the about 10 minutes in either direction in Elgin and Hoffman are the car dealerships. There's a whole row of cars. I'm sure there's some out by wherever you live as well. There's just rows of car dealerships. So we're picking up all the data from people who are going into those car dealerships in towns that he does not serve. But then if that person lives in the towns that he does serve, they get our ads because we know they're shopping for a car and they live in his area. And all 5 of these strategies, we have 5 different sets of creative. The new car buyers get one with a, happy couple shopping for a new car with their logo. The MLS people get we offer homeowners insurance with a happy couple standing with the keys to their new home, stuff like that. So each of these has their own set of creative. So it's super highly targeted, direct to those demographics that we're looking for. The last one was local families. He's right near a grocery store, so he wanted to target all the people who go into that grocery store, and then we added a filter of that make a certain amount of money. So as we dive more into this, as I said, we're only serving ads to people who live in Streamwood, Bartlett, or Hanover, with the exception of number 2, the new home buyers. So we're targeting people shopping for homes in Streamwood, Bartlett, Hanover. So I don't care where they live. They could live out of state. They could live in 2 towns away, but we know they're looking for a home in our area, so we're serving them ads. So it's really cool how you can, target each of them differently, serve different ads, and different strategies. So this was, his first 30 days. He did 100,000 impressions, so, pretty evenly split across the 5 different segments. Clicks are cool, 1,853 clicks out of 100,000 impressions. That's pretty good, 1.8%. But then it also tracks back the office visits, which I didn't, at the time we started this strategy, I didn't even know that happened. This was my very first geofencing client. So I was shocked to show him this. So, Home Depot people, he got 2 people tracked back to his office. Now, mind you, these are just people who visit his office. That doesn't account for someone who clicked his landing page and clicked to call or clicked to fill out a contact form. Those are tracked separately. But these are people who literally showed up at his office. So new home buyers, we had 2 show up, but then the competitors, look at that. 18 people, 295. That's the lowest number of ads that were served, but 18 of those people showed up back at his office. So somebody goes into one of his competitors, starts seeing his ads, clicks, follows, gets some information, shows up back at his office. How stinking cool is that? Automotive, we had 3, and then the local grocery store, we had 7, for a total of, in the 30 days, 32 people that we drove to his office. So when I met to talk with him about this first 30 days, he goes, wow, that explains it. He goes, we were really busy last month, and my girls would ask, well, how'd you hear about us? And they would just say, oh, Google. So that's one of the things you got to remember about this campaign is geofencing is designed to be very subliminal. People are not going to realize that, hey, I went into a car dealership, and then, I started getting followed around by these ads, and ultimately I clicked on one, and that drove me here. When you ask where they found out about you, they're just going to say Google. So that's why it's important to get that extra landing page in there, to get the tracking going, all that kind of stuff, so that we can actually provide you data like this, the exact number of people that we drove back. So some people this doesn't matter for, like my HVAC guy I'm working with, nobody goes, have you ever been to your HVAC contractor's office? Probably not. You call them and they show up at your house. That's how it is. So, for him, tracking back to his office is not nearly as important. So here's another example of a customer we worked with that was a luxury home builder. You can see, that giant $2 million house there. That's the type of stuff that he builds. So the two strategies we used here was we targeted the MLS listings for two specific communities where he has lots that he's building in. So Kildare, Illinois, we did homes, people shopping for homes above 500,000. Lake Forest, Illinois, we did people for shopping for homes for 750 and above, because those are $1 million homes out there. So someone goes to tour a home and all of a sudden like, hey, you want to get one built? Check it out. And then he's got some competitors in the area, some of which are building in the same subdivisions that he is. So we targeted their model homes, did a little geofence around it, the parking lot out in front of it. And, someone's going shopping at one of his competitors on a Saturday, touring the model home, checking out all the features, all that. Boom, we got them. They're going to start getting his ads. So that's one cool way to approach it. This guy, travel agency, does a very high-end luxury wine cruise. Every year they go to different really, really exotic locations. And so for this guy, we were targeting fine dining visitors, people who eat at Cooper's Hawk, Ruth's Chris, places like that. People who shop at wine and spirit stores. And he gave us a custom list as well. You can always give us more information if you know specific people. And Costco visitor seems like the outlier there. It's kind of an anomaly because the guy who leads the tour for this guy is the wine connoisseur at 3 different Costcos. So people who go to those 3 Costcos know him. So the ads that we designed for this guy have his face on the ads for the Costco visitors, but not on the other 3 segments that we're targeting. This is my HVAC guy. So he did a home show that I talked with you about. He had a booth there, and we did a program, double page insert for him. And then he targeted all the visitors who lived within, 5 miles of his service area. Then he did a local nonprofit event. He was, hosting and donating his time and stuff like that. So we targeted those people. And then he targeted the entire season of the Schaumburg Boomers. He's a sponsor for the Boomers. And so he's got his, banners up around the stadium and all that kind of stuff so people see his information. And once they go to the game and they live in our service area, they start getting his ads. So that is Allegra geofencing in a nutshell. So I appreciate you watching this. I truly hope that your wheels are turning right now and that you've got some ideas and you want to talk about how we can make this work for you. So give me a call. Our main line for Illinois is 847-963-0000. And Wisconsin is 262-658-1303. My name is Brian Walsh. I'm the owner of Allegra. And you can reach us at info@allegraconnect.com, all of which I should have put on this slide. I apologize for that. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. I will put all that contact information in the description, of course, so you don't have to rewind and listen to me tell you it again. So anyway, I appreciate you. Reach out. Let us know how we can make this work for you. Thank you so much.